Doing, brother?
I'm doing so well.
Hey,
Alhamdulillah.
so what's the secret of keeping that youth, man?
Staying in touch with you.
So first of all, how's your daughter doing?
She's doing better. She's well. She's well. Alhamdulillah.
And she's her breathing's okay?
Yeah. Yeah. She's these different allergies and these kinds of things, these seasonal things come in. So her issue actually was that she was dehydrated.
Okay.
So she's got to be more conscious of drinking water. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
really that simple. They thought it might have been something else, but it turned out that it wasn't.
Okay. Well, that's good that's good. That's an easy fix.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Are you on a
Yeah.
laptop
No, no, I'm
or
no, I'm
cell phone?
no,
Where are you getting your camera?
from my computer.
Yeah. Okay.
Desktop.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Desktop. Okay. Okay.
Right. Can you yeah, I can see
Yeah.
you. Can we
Yeah.
see
Yeah. I
each
was
other?
just
Yeah, yeah.
making sure I didn't see your whole face. That's why I was asking.
Uh,
But you moved back a little bit. And you're good now. Yeah. Oh
okay,
yeah. If
okay.
you can lift it a little, that's fine. Also, that's fine.
Is that better?
No, that's much
Or
better. Yeah.
okay, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the glare
Yes.
from the sun, is because we don't have any like
It, it'll
shade.
okay. It'll do what it does during the course of our conversation.
No, yeah, and again, I apologize, Benjamin, because I didn't realize the time got away because my son, like, he's very particular, and you know, so yeah.
No, there's nothing wrong.
Okay,
No
man.
problem whatsoever. Tell me what you want to talk about today.
Well, so I will be sending you the money after we get off the call, so I'm able to get my finances back in a good
Yeah.
place. So I'll get
Okay.
that to you.
Hmm.
Um, well, I was just thinking the other day because I'm reading because I have all three books of the Imam's Ramadan sessions,
Good.
and that's what prompted me to send you that email about the ascension, where you have the seven levels of ascension, starting from
Yes.
Adam all the way to Muhammad.
Yes.
And so, when I was reading about level two, where there's Jesus and John, and that just represents spirit and the matter, and then um, and then one negates, one affirms, and that's when I thought about the kalima, la ilaha illallah. And that's when I thought, okay, that seems to be connected. And then within that statement, there's a lot of science in it. But I mean, that was just an observation, but I just mainly want to just touch base with you. And I remember you said something about Steedcasts or podcasts,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
and also what I want to do, like probably like I'm going to put together just a few pages of this book I'm working on. Just want to get it's going to be like an excerpt here and there. I just want to get your thoughts about it. Because
Indeed.
the biggest challenge for me, Benjamin, is I got to remind myself I'm writing for an audience that has no idea about, what you've been teaching us. So I have to like write it in a way where someone has no um like background or introduction to it. So that's why it's taking me a little bit longer, because if I was writing for you and my other classmates, I wouldn't have to think too hard about it because we all know the language.
Sure.
So that's the biggest challenge. It's just
Yeah. That's always always a
writing it.
consideration. Yeah.
Yeah, trying so that just the reader who's never known, who has no idea what NuNetics is,
Hmm.
and then how some conclusions are drawn, and you can take them through the steps on how you got to that particular
Yeah.
conclusion. So, but I'm gonna put together a few little short excerpts and kind of get your thoughts about it. And I'll give you
Uh,
the outline. I'll give you the outline of the book, and in that way, if you have any questions or thoughts, I look forward to it.
Beautiful. Can't wait.
Okay, man.
I'll
And
wait
I'm
for it. I'll wait forever for you. See, people in the listening audience, if they happen to listen to this, they won't understand how valuable I believe you are to the advancement of this NuNetics method. Your
it's
brain tends to work a different way than most people.
mhm,
You are one who gets the big picture,
yeah.
and then you see yourself as obligated to whittle it down so that other people can at least see the small picture.
Nah, you know me.
Yeah, but that's a unique thing.
I never thought about it that way, because I
Yeah,
would think that that was kind of a common practice, or
no, not at all. Most people who write for big people and for big interests tend to stay there. It's like a club.
right,
So the intellectuals write for the intellectuals.
right.
Now, what I do is a kind of reverse engineering of that. My method
Mm-hmm.
for teaching,
Mm-hmm.
I write for the intellectuals also, but I put things in my message that will allow the intellectuals to know that they have been overly intellectual
Mm-hmm.
and that we're not really understanding their level because they have purposely cut off the small people from their messages. So when they
Yes.
continue to use $50 and $100 words in their essays and in their books, they know that automatically those of us who only went to grade school or
Mm-hmm.
high school like me, that we're going to have to go double time if we really intend to understand what it is they're talking about. And a lot of times their big talk is really just small talk in big words.
Right, right.
But the way that my information is designed so that the people who didn't go to the big schools and colleges and universities and didn't hobnob and rub elbows with the elite and the academically inclined,
Mm-hmm.
they can still get what I'm giving as long as they commit to study. Now, if they don't
No,
commit
you're
to
right.
study,
Mm-hmm.
all of what I'm saying is above their head.
Mm-hmm.
But if they commit to study, they rise like the ships and the tides cause the
Right,
ships to rise.
right.
And everybody rises together if they study together.
That's right.
So we have that happening now, especially in Atlanta. We
Mm-hmm.
actually have a full-fledged NuNetics class every Sunday at noon in Atlanta, Georgia. One of the brothers, an imam there,
Mm-hmm.
Kareem Rahim,
Mm-hmm.
he decided on his own to teach what he knew of the
Mm-hmm.
NuNetics method. Not that he knows it all. Nobody knows it all. I don't even know it all.
Mm-hmm.
But he decided to dedicate himself to teaching what he does know. And now
Mm-hmm.
he's got a good 10, 15 regular people who come there every Sunday for an
Mm-hmm.
hour. And they commit to learning the NuNetics method letter by letter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they're getting it. So
Mm-hmm.
when we have people like you who come along and start doing more of an independent study into the language and add some other things that you know that I don't know or that other people might not know,
Mm-hmm.
then this becomes a real growth spurt for all of us,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're Muslims and you identify with the Quran, and especially if you've been under the words and wisdom of Imam Warithuddin Muhammad, but not
Mm-hmm.
just him, but especially him,
Mm-hmm.
particularly him, but not just him.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So if you have that in your background, then you have some really powerful assistance in understanding this language and logic that we're presenting letter for letter. That's the important thing. Letter for letter.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And
You, you,
you have shown me, my friend, some very dynamic information in terms of your ability to make those consonantal connections.
well,
I should have told you to prepare yourself with some of your work.
well, you know what? Well, maybe we can't, because I know because I saved all my everything I've written to you. I
Yeah,
save it and I go back and reread it. And what I find,
man. Yeah,
what I
yeah,
find is I can
yeah,
appreciate it more, because when you put distance between something, then you begin to see like, oh, okay, this does make sense. So
yeah.
it is following a direction where a first time reader can say, oh wow, I never knew that an ayin had so much wisdom in it.
Well, why don't you go get some of that work? I'll wait.
Oh,
Pull
okay.
it up,
Well,
brother. Pull it up.
well, I mean, you know what? I think it's funny. I think I have it right here, 'cause I was going through it.
Take your time. I'm here.
Let's see, where did I put it? Oh, wait, no.
Yes, sir, Bob. That's what I'm
See,
waiting
so,
on.
so this was meant to be, right?
Absolutely. What's
Well,
that?
so what I will do, Benjamin, is this. So, like what you were saying earlier about the sources of where this comes from. I remember there's this one quote by the Imam and I'll just read it. So it says, so to work safely with any concept, you've got to see that concept in its reality. And it is the cosmic concept that has given birth to every other concept, every animal, every plant, human being, body, every stone, every crystal, forms in the concept of the cosmic world. So that, for me, when I'm writing this book, because we're looking at the concepts in the picture, and like, okay, the moon by itself can give you a lot of information about how the human psyche works. Which wouldn't that be amazing if somebody can start looking at the moon and they read it like a book of, oh, if I can read the moon and its phases, that's going to help me get some guidance and some help in managing my psyche, so that it stays sound and it stays connected. So where I'm getting my mental health squared away by reading the concepts in the Fitra,
That's right.
because it's speaking to me, in its operations, and then I can go to Quranic Arabic, because now, like, we can break down the ayn and see how the ayn is integrated with the cycles of the moon, and just and then the qaf. Like, if you spell out um, the moon in Arabic, you have your qaf, your meme, and your ra. So each one of those letters has a body of knowledge that if you can connect them correctly, then it can speak to you in a way that allows you to uh, see how it coincides with your thinking, your feeling, your contemplating. I'll give you an example. The one thing about the moon that really intrigues me is, when it reflects the light from the sun, but, but it's reflecting, so that means it's absorbing it. It's really a black body, but it has the ability to absorb light. And as you have been teaching us, the fitra is something that's born out of the darkness. The darkness is like another way of saying that's your original nature, that's unspoiled by any language in the world that takes you away from the way that you were born. Like, when you came into the way you came into the world as a baby.
Yes.
Because I remember all the children when my wife pushed them out of her womb,
Mm.
all I could see was just this light. I mean, you could see it in their eyes. You could see the purity. They came out of the dark.
Yes.
I mean, so the original nature was intact. And then, then when you come into the world, you got to fight to get it back. So a lot of times, looking at the moon, there's connections to the birthing of something from the original. Uh, and that what comes from the original is something that's sound, something that's whole, something that has a logical reasoning to it, that keeps you grounded, because you're reading something that hasn't been, like, touched or spoiled by the world. When I say by the world, like the language in the world,
Mhm.
the language in the world, it can corrupt the way we think, because we're we're reading language, but the language has been altered, um, or it's been symbolized. But if you can't break through the symbol, you don't really know what it's saying, right? So that's why I was really, this whole NuNetics journey, on top of being able to read the Quranic Arabic. When I talk about the grammatical structure of the language, I mean from the sense of, because there's a lot of tafsirs out there, a lot of people explaining and interpreting the Quran from their point of view. But I remember you said something in the very early stages of this journey, is, if you can read the Fitra, that's it. I mean, that's the original. Those are the words in the universe. Like, the book that I'll say, like, the theme of the book is like having access to the universal classroom,
Mhm.
which is the Fitra. It's anything that comes from nature. Um, but if you can see it more than, well, a tree is just not a tree, the moon's not the moon, the sun's not the sun. I mean, it is in its function, but in its meaning, the way that it's expressed in the Quran, like Shams. Okay, if we can break down the sheen and the meme and the scene, okay, so what is that? How will that make you look at the sun as it's expressed in the language of al-Sham,
Mhm,
Shamsi?
mhm.
Because the creator swears by that. So that means that there's something significant in that creation. Um, there's this course it's called Why Islam is True. And so what the course is trying to do is trying to get the teacher said something very important. He said, when we have to like talk about our faith, a lot of religions are faith-based. But he says when you think about al-Islam, it's evidence-based. So I mean, there's evidence that supports, why we say, there's no God but God, because it's based on evidence. Being able to understand that basically the premise of the course is everything is on a contingent where something that we see relies on something else to make it to be what it does and what it is. Um, and the only thing that doesn't need anything to exist is Allah. And even the word Allah, if you break it down through, like, you have an aleph and two lambs and a half. So that makes you wonder, okay, so why did Allah express those letters to give us like um, a conceptual reference point? Because I mean, why the configuration of an aleph and two lambs and a half? And then based on NuNetics, when you look at where those letters come from, they come from a really deep part um, of how we originate sounds. And another thing I remember you saying a while back that really stuck with me, the meanings come from sound, and the sound there's we have what we have. I think there's. Let me make sure I do the math right. I think, and you will correct me. I think there's three basic places. It's the throat, um, the deeper part of where sounds come from, and then there is the middle part of the mouth where you have with the lamb and the rah, um, where you can find them. It's where you said the lamb is it's restricted movement. That means if you have to form the word lamb, the tongue rises up and it stays in that elevated place. And I remember you mentioned something about the Ra, how that's unrestricted movement. And then the funny thing about the Ra, going back to the Kamara, the moon, the Ra is in that configuration. So that means the moon has a logic that's connected to something, um, how do I put it? It it has a logical uh, function because the moon has 4 stages. Why four? Um, and it reminds me of the Hajj when you go around the Kaaba. You have a square structure, 4 corners, um, and that structure represents something universal. That's universal to us as human beings. And so it just makes you wonder, okay, what is this all connected to? Why is four significant? Um, how can you see four in the creation? And if you can see the four in creation, how do you how do you how do you digest it so that you can articulate it to where it turns something on inside their intellect?
Mhm, mhm.
And that's what language does. It turns something on that naturally causes you to submit to something bigger and greater than yourself, or bigger and greater than the universe. So this universe it was not put together haphazardly. There's a logic to it. And we have the intellect and the language to be able to make those connections. But the language, if it comes from the fitra, something that was not touched by the human being, we know that that lesson will keep us it'll keep us in a frame of mind to keep evolving. So I think, I know I've kind of said a lot, so hopefully, I was kind of,
I got you.
I know you do, I know you do. But this is what NuNetics has done. It's just given me the ability to like to look at an ayat or a verse in the Quran, and even when you can identify, okay, this is the noun, this is the verb, this is the direct object. So you look at the grammatical structure of what the meaning is trying to convey, but then you can go even deeper. So like you can take each letter and tie it to its fitra meaning to add another layer of meaning to it, which is something that I haven't seen taught um, like the way you've taught us. So it's just another way of just extracting information outside of a structure of like a sentence, the way it's built. You're taking those same letters and you're being able to see it take on a whole new meaning. Like for example, like I was just going over something today. Let me just make sure I can kind of like give an example of what I just said based on NuNetics. Because I remember when I used to write to you, I know I used to write little mini novels, but you got me excited, man. So it that's just kind of how it went. Um, I think the one thing as I'm going through this, I'm just going to try to pull out what um how it ties to what we're talking about. Um,
As you look for that, I'm going to make a comment or two about the word
please.
qamar that we're
Okay.
discussing, the Arabic word for moon,
Yes.
Moon.
Okay.
And we have to keep in mind that if Allah has included that language or those words in the Quran,
Mm-hmm.
it's because those words are speaking to the multiplicity of levels that the human being's growth and development are predicated upon.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're mentioning the human being as a biology,
Mm-hmm.
as a neurology,
Mm-hmm.
as a psychology,
Mm-hmm.
then what Allah has introduced through those words and their connected letters
Mm-hmm.
is speaking on all of those successive levels.
Mm.
So the average person is only going to be able to grasp that the moon is a physical entity
Mm-hmm.
in the sky that does certain activities that that person can actually literally perceive. So it disappears for a day,
Mm-hmm.
then it reappears as a slither, a
Mm-hmm.
crescent, a new moon crescent, and then it begins to wax until it becomes a quarter moon, full moon, three
Mm-hmm.
quarters moon. Pardon me. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
3/4 moon, and then a slither on the other side,
Mm-hmm.
fourth quarter moon. So you're correct in describing the moon as a four-stage type of development.
Mm-hmm.
And that's for anybody, not just a college graduate can see that. The uneducated farmer in the field
Mm-hmm.
can see the waxing and the waning of the moon, and that it has four um, activities, if you will, connected to it. But what they can't see from here is what's actually on the moon. Now, we supposedly had astronauts who visited the moon in 1969, I believe, July. I
Mm-hmm.
remember it being July 16th because that's my birthday. That's when
Okay.
they first landed the American rocket
Mm-hmm.
ships. They
Mm-hmm.
say they first landed them on the surface of the moon.
Mm-hmm.
I have reason not to believe that narrative, along with other very professional people who are astronauts and people who deal with space travel and people who deal with interplanetary, whatever, who they don't believe the narrative as it's been written either. And in many cases, because of the advancement in the technology, they've been able to prove that that particular landing, not that it hasn't happened, I don't know, I wasn't there, but I know that that particular landing did not happen. That it was a Hollywood, it was a Hollywood presentation.
Was staged.
Yeah, and a very prominent Hollywood director admitted it because he directed it. Well, we won't go into that. My point is that we don't know what's on the moon except through the letter system. Now, NuNetics, as you know, presents the letter meme or M as meaning two things, as meaning water and as meaning inside of you, your emotionality. All right. So the emotionality part we got covered because we know that the moon does have a tremendous impact on human emotionality. Especially the full moon, we get agitated, we become enraged to the point where they invented a word called lunatic after the word lunar, the moon. So they found that life on Earth becomes very, very agitated when the moon begins to become fuller and fuller and fuller. People get agitated. This is why they have even the werewolves, turning into werewolves when at the fullness of the moon.
Right.
So the emotion connection, we got that, but no one has ever made a water connection. About maybe 20 years ago, I started saying that despite what NASA tells you, I believe that the moon does contain water. And lo and behold, just recently, about 3 weeks ago, I read a science magazine that actually said, yes, we have determined now that there are pockets of places beneath certain craters that do have liquid, that do have water. Now, and I thought that was interesting, but the Quran told us that 1500 years ago, when it introduced the word Amr using the letter Mim, which means water. So now, in understanding the NuNetics method for determining the meanings of these words, we know we had the emotion side covered in ka, ma, ra, mim, ra, but we didn't know until recently that we also had the physical, chemical water covered also. And this is the way the Quran operates. It operates in stages. It operates in terms of opening up the human intellect to information that was not yet known. And that's what's given to us in the first revelation given to Muhammad, when he said, taught the human being that which he before was not knowing. And the Quran is going to always be in that projection. So what we're reading now, this is why I'm not understanding why there are certain scholars who want to keep us 1400 years ago into the past when it comes to understanding the Quran. They say if you don't understand it like the Sahaba understood it, then you're not really understanding the Quran. I say the exact opposite. I say you should know much more than the Sahabas knew. They're over there planted in the middle of somebody's desert. They hadn't experienced the world yet. So why is every one of their interpretations the acceptable interpretations? But if Johnny come lately shows up with a better meaning, he's rejected or she's rejected, when the prophet is reported to have said himself in probably the most, if not one of the most, definitely one of the most popular hadith that they call the sayings of Muhammad. And that's the last lecture, the last khutbah of our beloved prophet, the prophet on his mount, so to speak, right? Where he said what? He said, those of you who are present, present also means present-minded. Those of you who are present, take this to those who are absent. Perchance, they might know better than you. And when he said absent, he also meant those who are not even born yet, into the future. So those of you who are here, prepare this work, prepare this information as an introduction to those who are coming behind you. Because perchance, Muhammad being a fitra man, he's in line with nature. Nature says that those things that come after, that are in a position to accumulate the good that the previous generations were able to do, they fare better than the ones who were prior to that. Right? So that's another indication that knowledge evolves. You see?
Mm-hmm.
And this is what they didn't want us to know, meaning the traditional scholarship, on the most part, not all of them, but too many of them. They're
Mm-hmm.
sitting in their purges now,
Mm-hmm.
collecting their paycheck, and they
Mm-hmm.
don't want anybody to introduce anything new. That's the main reason why Imam Wadathuddin Muhammad was, on the most part, rejected. They won't use that word. They won't say we rejected him. They'll just say we didn't benefit from him. We didn't use what he had. He was speaking to black folks. He was speaking to Negroes. He wasn't speaking to us. No, he was speaking to the entire world
Mm-hmm.
when he said what he said about Muhammad the Prophet
Mm-hmm.
being an indication of what's necessary in modern times. He said he's the leader of the modern world. How many of those other scholars have you heard say that? That's a bold statement. He
Mm-hmm.
said Muhammad the Prophet is the leader of the modern world.
Mm-hmm.
They're telling you he's the leader 1400 years ago
Mm-hmm.
for 23 years. And then, stuff happened.
Mm-hmm.
No, it must be that Imam W.D. Muhammad sees, he saw and he sees Muhammad as something way beyond what the books on biographies on Muhammad have introduced to us.
Mm-hmm.
They see him as a dead man. Imam
Mm-hmm.
Muhammad sees him as the leader of the modern world. So he
Mm-hmm.
must be above and beyond his biology. He
Mm-hmm.
must be above and beyond his 63 mortal years on earth. If the
Mm-hmm.
Quran is describing him as rahmatul lil alameen, a
Mm-hmm.
rahmah, a mercy to all creatures and
Mm-hmm.
to all systems of knowledge, he's a mercy to all systems of knowledge. That means every time a new science is born, Muhammad is a mercy to that. But
Mm-hmm.
how, it's not the physical person because he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
He's in the grave.
Mm-hmm.
So it must be talking about a Muhammad that supersedes the
Mm-hmm.
flesh and blood
Mm-hmm.
that carried his mortal life.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes into something that Allah revealed in that Quran that represents the life sustaining abilities in the one that we're looking at as a mortal flesh and blood man, male, Arab. That has nothing to do with his flesh and blood, has nothing to do with his Arabness, it has nothing to do with his gender. It
Mm-hmm.
has to do with the message.
Mm-hmm.
That's the leader for the modern world. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll hand the talking stick back over to you until you
No,
finish.
no, but I think, well, you know what? I'm glad you said that, brother, because I think because as I was listening to you, what came to mind was when you think about, so Muhammad was a principle, you know, that evolves. Um, that's not, it's timeless because as long as the intellect is evolving, you'll find Muhammad because he came out of the fitra. And as long as we as human
Yes.
beings can observe the fitra, then we can still extract knowledge from it. I mean, so you think about it, like all the nuclear weaponry that we have, what it came from someone who was able to use that principle to be able to extract from um, the sun and the universe. It has heat, it has electricity. There's so many different. um, I don't see. I'm not versed in scientific language, so it's kind of hard to articulate it. But someone with the mind that could extract from the universe and then tie that concept to a language, and that language is what guides you to be able to learn more about that that uh, that phenomenon, or what happens in the universe. So you have a language because you're able to read a concept that, again, it goes back to the fitra. The universe is built on so many different things, and if you can read them, then you can create things as a result of being able to read them.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
and that's where language is important, but then also you have to be able to look into language to see what it's really trying to convey to you. A word is just not a word. A word has something behind it that, if you are able to recognize it, and you can somehow manage it by giving it a language that guides your mind to follow the logic to what it creates, then you know that's how things are born. They're born out of your ability to, you know, stretch your intellect, read something that's bigger than you. Um, and that's why, you know, I think it's important. I mean, not to try to go off topic, like when we make the second satya, that's how we realize that if we don't read the language correctly, we're going to get ourselves in trouble. We're going to make mistakes because the intellect needs to be submissive to the creator of everything, so that when you do extract knowledge from this universe, you'll be able to apply it in a way that's going to be just, fair, and equitable to the development of society. But if you don't read it correctly, or let's say if you read it in a way to just benefit yourself, well, then it's going to corrupt the society, because you're supposed to read in a way where it's going to be just for everyone. The knowledge is supposed to serve us all, not just a few. But then if you're not going to align your intellect with the appropriate structure, then you're going to make mistakes. So I think that's why with Muhammad, peace be upon him, I mean, the principle in him, it's not going to ever let you go outside of that structure unless you don't want to submit to, you know, the disciplines that we submit to be able to, you know, extract from the creation, to be able to use it in a way that benefits everybody. I don't know if that makes sense. I know, because I mean, a lot of thoughts came in my mind as you were talking, um, because I know that prophets, I mean, their principles, right? They were able to, they elevated to a level where they could see things in a way that we normally don't see unless we study them, and unless and the creator blesses us to look into that language, that that prophets are, they're what's the word, they are, um they're fluent in the fitra.
Yes.
They're very fluent in it, to where if it was true at the beginning of time, it's going to be true to the end of time. um it's like knowledge that doesn't, it doesn't die. It's present. The question is, can you read it? Can you apply it beyond just the normal um way of looking at things? So the one thing I was thinking about, I'm trying to, using the NuNetics reasoning, like with the letters, like the word Eid, like that's an Ein and a Ya and a Dal. So I know the Ein can mean like insight at a deep universal level, but it also makes reference to water, but at a deeper level, like a spring or a well. And that's usually deeper in the earth. And then I
Nice,
remember,
nice connections. Yeah.
and I remember in your in your classes, like earth is just a anagram to the word heart.
Yes.
And so that means that, and the other thing that your class, what it does, like, you know, the Ein has a tail, but it points to the right. Why does it point to the right and not the left? Because the Ra, it points to the left. So there's a lot of things that the letters makes you stop and ask yourself. So if an Ein can, because it comes from a deep place in your throat,
Hmm.
you got to strain. It's not something that you can just, it's not easy. You have to go through something to be able to discover it. So that means, so it does mean some form of struggle. And if you're trying to read the fitra, you have to struggle. It's not, it's hidden, but you gotta qualify yourself to be able to open that door, so that it will release the blessing of the blessings that come from that depth of knowledge. And usually in the Ein, you know, if it's deep, that means it's coming from a dark place. Dark, not in a negative way, but it's like the mystery of your, of where
Yeah.
things are,
Well put. Yeah.
you
Mystery.
know,
Yeah.
the mystery, which it says you're going to have to you're going to pay your dues to become into this particular like domain. You're going to you have to pay your dues, and NuNetics is a really, I think it gives you the keys, because you're not just reading the word, like, because the word eyeing, and I mean it does reference eye, and what do you do with your eye? You see. And I remember Imam Worthy Muhammad said the pupil, which is that black that round black um, circle in the eye, that's the first student in your head.
That's right.
So that means that, and what is it? And that pupil, what color is it? It's black. It's black. Everybody's pupil is black.
That's right.
So that means we're all born out of that. We all come from the same origin. Um, and so then that eyeing has that kind of significance, because it's talking about, if you want to open up that door, because even the word, like, the go back to, because like I think the yeah means that's when you extend the knowledge. It's referencing where you have to extend, it's not constricted, you have to extend it. And then the Tao, it even shows in the half moon, it looks like a D, a door. Because when you look at the moon, when it's like part white, part light, part dark, the part that intrigues me the most is the part that's, you can see the faint dark part. It's like the mystery, and it's like a door.
Yeah, there's your mystery. That's right. What's on the
And
other side of that door? We
what's
don't
on the
know.
other,
It's a mystery until
it's
we
on the
open
other,
the door. That's right.
but it's pointing
Get some light on the other side of that.
so right, it's like you're like this asking the question, what's on the other side?
Yeah.
And then the other side, it's pointing at something dark, something mysterious. So that means that it's waiting to be discovered. So are you qualified to discover it? And so how do you qualify yourself? Well, I know in our religion, it talks about your heart has to be clean in order for the creator to, I guess, to qualify yourself. I mean, that's why we have our disciplines. You got to qualify yourself to get that kind of knowledge, because you're going to get it for good purposes, not for something that's going to be self-serving. Because I think we all know people can read what we're talking about, but they can do it in a way that it's self-serving. But if you're doing it to where you're trying to get that knowledge to contribute to your society so people can benefit as a whole, then that's a different, you're at a different level. And going back to the water within us, like our morals, like how do you keep it clean? So that universally you can see. And I remember one time the man was saying about Christ Jesus was a well-guarded secret. I'm thinking, so Christ was a word. So what is a word? A word, it alludes to knowledge, the knowledge of the elements, like water, air, fire, earth. Those are all principles in the universe. So what's within those principles that hold a secret to what can advance us as a society. But can you read the word? And that goes back to the elements of the Fitra. And then the language that needs to evolve so that the reader can read it and then think about it, and then, God willing, get some insight to where they can start applying it. And I think with this journey that I've been on with you and the rest of your students, um, what's helped me with my Arabic is the NuNetics, because I don't, that's why I can make the connections faster, because the NuNetics makes me appreciate the Arabic letter more so than I would have. Because I would just see an ayin, it's just an ayin. I can say, okay, say ayin, ayin. Okay, I recognize it, I can speak it, but what does it mean? As it's connected to the universe. And then, well, what's the big deal about the universe? Well, there's knowledge within that universe. And then we have an intellect, and then the intellect's supposed to be exercised to study something. So what do you want to study? Study something that's going to give you more insight to who you really are and what you can contribute, um, to where, you know, you begin to see the sunrise within yourself, you know, because why would the creator swear by the sun? I mean, the creator picks and chooses what the creator swears by. And that makes you wonder, why, why this particular concept? I haven't seen yet in the Quran that the creator is swearing by water, but but again, I don't, there's so much I don't know. It's probably there, I just miss it. But it makes you wonder, there's certain objects in nature that the creator swears by, and
Yeah,
that makes
but
me wonder what that's about.
well, basically what that's about, and this is just me skimming the surface
Uh-huh.
of the connection that I'm about to give you.
Okay.
That so-called swearing
Uh-huh.
that Allah is doing is
Mm-hmm.
called the uqsimu,
Mm-hmm.
uqsimu,
Mm-hmm.
with the essential letters of Qaf, Sin, Mim,
Right.
which gives us a very popular name called Qasim.
Mm-hmm.
We used to have Qasim Ahmed as one of our popular imams, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So uqsimu is related to Qasim,
Mm-hmm.
and Qasim is what gave the English-speaking world the word Qasim, C-O-S-M, which gives us cosmic and cosmos.
Right. There you
So
go.
what is Allah swearing by, so to speak? I don't like to say Allah is swearing by something. It
But
makes, in my mind, I'm uncomfortable with that.
yeah, me too.
But he's bringing his witnesses to the witness stand. I like to
He,
present it like that.
that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, he's bringing his witnesses because he says, I witness by the stars or whatever. You know, sometimes it'll say, I witness by.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the witnesses are there to testify. And everything that Allah chooses out of the cosmos, that's where he's choosing from, the sun, the
Mm-hmm.
moon, the mountain, so forth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All of those things are part of this cosmic phenomenon that we call the cosmos. So Allah is choosing witnesses from the cosmos instead of choosing witnesses from the liars.
Yes, yeah. I like that.
He
Yeah.
never
Yeah, yeah,
chooses
yeah.
people to swear
Right.
by in the Quran.
Right.
All
Oh
right.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
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 That's good.
He
That's
even
really
says,
good.
he even says to his prophet, his beloved prophet Muhammad, about him, I should say, he says that if he had brought anything other than what we revealed to him, we would
Mm-hmm.
have severed his right artery.
Mm-hmm.
So human beings have that proclivity for changing things. It's just a natural thing happening in our nervous system when we feel threatened or when we feel there's some advantage. If we tell it this way, just put a little spin on it, we can get more advantage. So Allah created the human being like that. Doesn't make him evil, it just makes him human. But Allah doesn't swear by humans.
Well,
Yeah,
oh,
he's swearing by the cosmos itself. You understand?
well, no,
Yeah.
I mean, that was beautifully put. I mean, that's going to see, this is what I like about um our conversations. And so when I read the Arabic now, and I like how you clarified, you took cosms, and see, here's the NuNetics again. You took an Arabic, you took a like the cough, the scene, and the mean, and you connected to like the English cosmic, the C, OSMIC,
Hmm.
and so that's where, that's where I think the beauty is, where you can make the connections without having to like know the language, like let's say the native speaker, because I think native speakers they know the language, but to be able to make that connection and to be able to like, and because that's going to make you read the Quran very differently. I just love the
Yeah.
way you put your that creator is saying, by, like, I'm choosing to say to you, listener, by these things in my creation, am I going to say what I'm about to say? So that
And
means, like,
if you
yeah,
want to understand the depth that I'm speaking to you on right now, go
yeah,
study those objects. Not just that I'm
yes,
swearing by it, I'm giving you
hmm,
what your homework assignment is. Say, go study those objects, the mountain,
yes,
the
I love
sun,
it.
the moon.
I
because
love it. I love it.
they have information there
Uh-huh.
that I am testifying by.
Mm-hmm.
I'm showing you my power. You can't see me, like you told
Mm-hmm.
Musa. You can't see me,
Hmm. Right, right.
but I'm giving you something in the creation. Look at that
Mhm.
mountain there. Right. So these are just points that Allah has placed meticulously throughout the Quran that are actually our study assignments as Muslims, if we're of those people who yatadabbaru al-Quran, who
Mm-hmm.
deeply study, who have been
Yes.
told by Allah to not only study it momentarily, but the
Mm-hmm.
ya on the beginning of yatadabbaru, pardon me, dabara,
Mm-hmm.
yatadabbaru. There's a lot going on in that expression,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the yeah, as you know, is present tense, but more importantly, future tense.
Right. Present, going, future.
See? So what does that tell you about the future? If the language itself is telling you that, yeah, there's this thing going on right now, but there's something more important coming in the future.
Right,
So
right.
use what you're receiving in the present to prepare you for what Allah is about to introduce in the future. And the beauty of this, Michael, is that the present and the future are actually simultaneous.
Yes, I can
And
see that.
this is the missing science related to even the salat and the dua
Mm-hmm.
that is going to be in my next book. It should be out in less than a week.
Okay.
The true meaning of the salat, volume 2. Right. So what is it saying? It's saying what the Quran is saying, that when Allah wants to give assistance to the human intellect, he says to the intellect to visualize your condition and your desires as though they have already appeared in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
They have already manifested. A
Yes.
lot of people in the world, they know this now. They use their own language for it, but Allah is corroborating, and then He's clearing the cobwebs of the stuff that really is not a part of the science. When Allah says, "Qad aflaha al-mu'minun,"
Mm-hmm.
there's that famous cough letter again, Q. Qad aflaha al-mu'minun, and they translate it as the believers. Then they put in brackets, will eventually win through. Wrong. They should never have put brackets. Qad aflahal means that it has already happened. Falaha, success. So qad is that prefix statement,
Mm-hmm.
which means surely,
Mm-hmm.
but beyond, you know, just inna.
Mm-hmm.
uh, Strengthening the
Yeah.
idea that this is going to happen. But what it is really saying, according to the brightest and the most brilliant of Arabic scholars, what it is saying is that God means it's already happened,
Yes.
even though it hasn't manifested in your life, in your surroundings, in your environment, in your relationships. What Allah is saying is put your mind. I've created you with a brilliance in that human mind that is able to concentrate on something and bring it through the power of imagination.
Mm-hmm.
Bring it through the power of imagination into your present day life and repeat that in your mind. That's what golf means, to repeat a thing over and over again, because it will eventually enter the subconscious mind, which is what the letter golf is also representing, the subconscious mind. The
Right.
raw conscious mind, things out front. The golf, things operating in the more emotionally inclined. See how the moon is still in it, the Qamar,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So visualize it. And remember now, that particular revelation was sent to Muhammad the Prophet right in the middle of the oppression that was being meted out to them by the Arab supervisors and slave masters.
Mm-hmm.
Those Arabs were burying Muslims in the sand up to their
Mm-hmm.
necks
Mm-hmm.
because they refused to leave this idea of this new religion, this new way of doing. We're used to the idols, and we're used to Hubal and Alat and and all of the rest of these 360. How dare you come here and introduce some newfangled god that our brains haven't been introduced to ever?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What kind of arrogance is that for you to come? We've been doing this for 1,000 years. See, that was their position
Mm-hmm.
when Iqra came.
Right.
Yeah. So the uh, the ability to manifest was given in the word God. If you were to consonantally compare the Arabic word God, QAD, with an English word, you'll get it. And that English word is COULD,
Mm-hmm.
could.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, is this a possibility?
Mm-hmm.
No, beyond that, it means it is a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody comes up to you and they say, man, let's say they're talking to Muhammad Ali, and they go to Muhammad Ali and they say, man, if I was in the ring with you, I believe I could beat you.
Mm-hmm.
That's a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
I could beat you. It hasn't happened yet.
Mm-hmm.
And it might not ever happen because he's Muhammad Ali.
Right,
But
right.
the fact remains that the could represents a possibility that the person sees as being real.
Mm-hmm.
Can you lend me $100? You haven't done it yet, but you could. See, it's a possibility. It's a
Oh, yeah.
strong possibility.
Yeah.
So when Allah says qad, he's introducing you to a strong possibility that the so-called believers will eventually, they're not eventually, that they have already, it's a past tense statement. They
Mm-hmm.
have already won through. How have they already won through? And they're still being oppressed. They still haven't gone into Ethiopia for refuge. They still haven't done these other things, because you have to condition the intellect and the emotionality for that journey before
Mm-hmm.
it happens.
Right.
Before it happens.
Before.
If you leave the human intellect where it is on the table of results and you are whining and complaining about where you are because you're poor, you're broke, and you're out of doors.
Mm-hmm.
That's why most people remain poor as a joke, broke as a joke, poor and
Mm-hmm.
out of door. That's why they remain there, because they've conditioned their subconscious mind that that
Mm-hmm.
is in fact the reality.
Mm-hmm.
Even if their conscious mind begins to say other stuff like, hey man, I ran into this program. They say, do you want to be a millionaire? And yeah. But you've already been thoroughly conditioned subconsciously
Mm-hmm.
to accept that as your reality, as your lot. So you will never come out of that as long as that's the main message that's pressing up against the nervous system that
Mm-hmm.
your brain is sending messages to. You'll never come out of it
Mm-hmm.
because it's just not being conditioned for that. But if you
Mm-hmm.
condition your mind by repeating things over habitually in the mind to say, I am already successful. That's what the statement is saying. Called
R-
Efleh al-Mu'minun, the believers are already
mhm.
successful.
Right.
See, this is a new psychology that the Quran introduced into the world.
Mm-hmm.
Many people had it already.
Mm-hmm.
The ancient Hebrews, they knew it already.
Mm-hmm.
The ancient Egyptians,
Mm-hmm.
they put so much study into the human brain, brother, that Freud and them had to back up and go learn from them.
That's right.
The third eye phenomenon and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
They got all of that from the ancient Egyptians, the study of the soul. That's what the word psychology means. The ancient Greeks didn't invent it. They got it from the ancient Egyptians, the Cometians.
Mm-hmm.
So the Quran comes to make all of that much more simple to digest, to access and digest without including any of the fluff that leads to shirk.
Mm-hmm.
That's the beauty of the Quran. It divests knowledge from around the world and from generations, that civilizations that ain't even here to talk about themselves anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Those narratives are in the Quran because they're important for our human growth and development into this excellent model that is
Mm-hmm.
represented in the person Muhammad.
Mm-hmm.
The concept Muhammad is what
No,
we're
that's
talking
yeah.
about. See, so that's where humanity has to meet. That is the modern world concept that I believe Imam Muhammad was addressing when he said that Muhammad is the leader of the
Mm-hmm.
modern world. It's
Mm-hmm.
technology, it's industry,
Mm-hmm.
it's psychology,
Mm-hmm.
it's mathematics.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, on the most part, were introduced into the world by Muslim thinkers.
Mm-hmm.
And all of these other important sciences that are necessary for further growth and development without any antagonism being shown to anybody because of their ethnicity,
Mm-hmm.
because of their geography, because of
Right.
their economic status
Mm-hmm.
or lack thereof. No, there's still no prejudice shown to them by Allah in the Quran. He put the Quran there as a free for all book, but your entrance the ticket that you need to purchase before you walk into that grand arena of ilm, of knowledge and science. The ticket you need to purchase is study,
Right. Right.
investigate, ask questions. Don't just
r-
accept it because some ulima or somebody or your mama told you, or don't just accept it because, as good intention as they may be, if it's
mhm,
not in connection with al-fitra, it's going to lead you in a direction that Allah did not assign you to.
mhm. No, that's. I mean, well, I mean, what you just said. I mean, it's just, and when you were talking about the cough being like the subconscious, and then if we look at the concept of the moon with the, because like you have the cough, the meme, and the ra, because we know the meme also has a reference to what's universal, because it
Yes,
completes itself, it's whole,
yes,
and then the r and the ra, well, it has a rational, logical movement. So to what you were saying, if we use the moon as a symbol of how to have a sound psychology of how um, you can evolve and and get away from it. If you have any negative self-talk, you can evolve out of it. You just follow the universal principles.
yeah. And
You
whatever
know,
you do repeatedly is going to
repeatedly.
be, it's going to become locked into the subconscious mind.
Conscious, right,
It's going to become something that you can activate upon reflection,
upon reflection.
repeated reflection. That's what dhikr is. That's why it's a related concept to what we're
Right.
talking about. So, what English word is consonantally connected to the Arabic word amara?
What English word?
A
Um,
sound, M sound, R sound.
you said A sound,
K sound,
M sound.
yeah.
You said K sound.
Or guttural, yeah. Cough, calf, any of those. Kha sound, any of the gutturals.
Okay, come on. It's probably staring me in the face.
I
It's
feel
not
like
singing.
it is staring you in the face. And when you hear it, you're gonna go, "Oh man, I should have had some Jeopardy music. I got to give myself some Jeopardy music."
So,
Dun, 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 dun,
so,
dun, dun, dun.
so I needed. So let me. Okay. So what English word is
Comma, comma,
that's
comma.
kamala?
Yeah, you're saying
So
the
so
word. You're saying the word. That's how easy it is. Just think
go.
English. Just think with your English brain.
Oh, karma.
And don't, oh, that too.
Okay,
Yeah, I didn't think about that one, but that one also, karma.
karma.
Right? But listen, what is that?
Camera,
Yeah, like the
camera,
one you're looking at. But what is it based on? Reflected light.
reflected light.
The
Wow.
camera gives you a picture of something that has already happened,
Mm-hmm.
but it gives you a better picture when you have a light bulb attached or when you have light in the environment
Mm-hmm.
that is able to assist that effort in capturing the moment.
Mm-hmm.
God, you capture the moment. I'm already there. I see it. That's what the memory does for you. I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
You've been there and done that and got the t-shirt to prove it, but you're not there right now. Oh, yes, I am.
Mm-hmm.
Here I am right here. I'm remembering. That's what the dhikr is.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
understand?
Mm-hmm.
So, kamar, the moon, camera,
Mm-hmm.
himar, these are all related words in the Quran, the
Mm-hmm.
Arabic ones, the Quranic ones.
Mm-hmm.
Himar,
Mm-hmm.
won't go into all of the details of that,
Mm-hmm.
but they're all related.
Mm-hmm.
Karma, as you said, which is from the Sanskrit language, I
Mm-hmm.
believe,
Mm-hmm.
right? So this gives us insight into how to properly weigh these words and attach these words to our reality, because different people have come up with many different meanings for these things, especially karma. People
Mm-hmm.
think it'd be, oh, something happened to you
Mm-hmm.
because you did something bad to somebody else. Well, what about when you do something good to somebody else?
Right, right.
The good result is what? It's a reflection
Is a reflection.
of the
That's
good
right.
thing, the good deed that you did. Now
That's right.
karma has brought it back. What about the word kareem?
Mm-hmm. Kareem. That's right.
Ikra wa Rabbuka Akram. Akram. Kareem.
Cutting.
Karma.
Right.
What about that? How is that related to karma? That's what you
Mm-hmm.
Muslim NuNetics people are supposed to be investigating. You should be
Mm-hmm.
well into the well of
Mm-hmm.
consonantal connections by now.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not familiar with it, you need to get on the horn or on the email thing and email a brother how to get involved. More and more people are, man. The floodgates are open now. People are wanting this NuNetics experience, brother, like you wouldn't believe. Every day I'm getting requests to join the NuNetics Institute and the University Online Learning course. Every day I'm getting requests.
And I'm not surprised. When you think about it, if you can if you can start to when you see the Arabic consonant and you know that it has it has a lot of wisdom in itself that's connected to the fitra, it's hard not to want to learn because you're I think I said as I said earlier in our conversation, it naturally um, turns on this appetite to want to connect with it because it's like it becomes a mirror of you through language or symbols that they're abstract, but when you can but when you see the meaning inside them, then your behavior changes, your thinking changes, you come alive at a different level.
Yeah. Look at the
You
word you
come
just used. Look at the
what's that?
word you just used in English. They become a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that's a concept that was used also, they say, by our prophet in one of his hadiths, that a Muslim is the mirror for his brother, right?
Mm-hmm.
Miraj, yeah, he's the mirror for his brother. So in any of these words where you see the M and the R working together,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
like in mirror and in kamara, it's going
Mm-hmm.
to have something to do with reflected light.
Mm.
Yeah. So meme is water. R is actually light. It's
Right.
Ra in ancient Egypt, the sun.
That's right.
So it's reflected light is the point. And it deals with the marine life, the MR
Mm.
we're talking about, right? It deals with all of these words that contain MR within them. Um, so this idea, even for the word or the name Karim or Karama, K-R-M, Karama,
Mm-hmm.
Kareem as a word, Akram
Mm-hmm.
as its infinitive.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what does that say? If Kareem, they say, means generous, I'm telling you, man, when the true scholars of Arabia begin to entertain the idea of investigating NuNetics as a method for learning the
Mm-hmm.
Quran,
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be a sonic
Mm-hmm.
result in terms of what's going to come out of that in terms of scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I use this method and I start thinking just a little bit and I say, well, Kareem means generous, then what is it about the word Kareem that is producing that generosity?
See. Right.
It's the fact that the generosity has been captured as an image
Mm-hmm.
and it's being reflected back. Isn't that what
Right.
karma is?
Right.
So, in
Exactly.
order for me to be
Mm-hmm.
well off, in order for me to be all right, I have to first show generosity
Mm-hmm.
so that the generosity might be reflected back in my direction by
Perfection.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Right.
You see how that works?
Right.
So all of these words are related.
But
Man, man,
even what you just said, but even the word, even the Arabic alphabet ta, because it's reciprocity. You just spoke about reciprocity.
that's right. The palm of the hand, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, no,
Okay.
when you talk about like when you when you when you reflect, a reflection is what you send out, it comes back to you. So that that made me think of reciprocity. There's a relationship there
Yeah.
between what you do and then as a result of what you do, what you get in return.
That's right.
But then I know the letter ta, like the ta. I mean that I remember in that's one of the meanings of the letter that
Yes, that's right.
it's reciprocity.
That's right. Ta, that's right.
So
The ta of reciprocity is called in Arabic.
right,
Yeah.
and but like you said, when you said if I heard you correctly about that the prophet peace be upon him said that how do you say like we are a mirror of
Yeah. A mirror for our brother. A reflection for our brother. Yes.
what came to mind because of the context of our conversation, then if that's true, then I guess the fitra is it's it has we have a relationship with it. Um is the fitra our brother because it's reflecting back to us?
Well, let me ask you this.
Yes.
If I can I leave a mark on something without touching it?
Yes.
No, I mean in the literal sense.
Yes.
Tell me how.
Well, this conversation, you left a mark on me when you described how to look at the word custom.
That's because I touched you.
Yes. So
Even though the
the
distance between North Carolina and California,
California,
I still touched you.
you did.
So I cannot leave a mark without touching you. What
That's right.
touch has different levels,
That's right.
right? So the reason I'm asking that is this, that the English word mark,
Hmm.
if you turn the letters backwards, what do you
It's
have?
you have karma,
That's right.
car,
And
hmm
Kareem.
and Kareem.
So I can't have karma come back to me unless I've done something good or bad
That that's
to
right.
bring that energy back to me, right?
Right.
And I can't have uh uh the Kareem, the generosity,
Hmm.
unless I've been generous.
That's right.
And I can't have a mark, a
Hmm.
pencil mark on the paper unless somebody did it.
Hmm.
my child or somebody. Did you draw on my wall?
Uh-huh.
No, man, I think it was our sister. No, it was you. You know it was you. Did I see him? No, but the evidence is on the wall.
Right.
And
Right.
therefore, there's got to be some source.
That's right.
If there's generosity and you have much, there's got to be a reason why you've been gifted with that plenty.
Hmm.
And the key to keeping that plenty coming in is to yourself now be generous to others.
That's right.
You see how that works? So Mark, even though it's a different language, English, it's still consonantally connected, thematically
Mm.
related.
Right.
This is beautiful.
Well, no, it is, and I think that's where you were saying earlier, if the new scholarship, or let's say people wake up and start really, um, well, I'll say this. That's why nowadays I don't say that I'm interpreting the Quran, I'm reflecting upon it because it's hard to interpret
Oh,
something,
I like that.
because and
Yeah.
then it prepares you to see things deeper because the moment you interpret something, you're already taking yourself.
You just
It's
opened up a whole new, fresh, pure portal just right there with what you just said. Because there's that popular hadith that they attribute to Aisha when they
mm,
asked her, pardon me, about her husband, not about her husband actually, but about the prophet, because her husband was different than the prophet. I don't know if y'all
mhm.
understand what I mean by that.
No, no, no. Now
In
that
the
you said that,
Quran,
yeah,
she doesn't refer to, well, in the hadith even, she doesn't refer to him as my husband
that's
because he
true.
he don't belong to her.
Right,
He is Allah's he is Allah's messenger,
right.
and he is our prophet.
Yes, no. Until
As a
you said that,
Nabi, he belongs
right.
to all of us. As a messenger, none of us can claim him because the messenger
Hmm.
is thoroughly wrapped up in the message
Right,
itself. So
right.
none of us can
Wow,
claim to be
wow.
the authors of, or the influencers of, or the
Mm.
corrupters of. You can't corrupt the message of the Quran.
Hmm.
See? So
Interesting.
yeah.
I
So
mean, yeah.
mm, the
Wow.
point I was going to make got lost on me, but if I remember, I'll bring it back. But what you're bringing up here Yes, that Aisha referred to uh, him as the Quran.
That's right.
She asked
On,
the question, I believe, have you not read Al Quran? When they asked her about him.
mhm,
So some scholars like to put behind that he was the Quran in
walking.
motion,
Right.
walking, they say. He was the
Right.
Quran living in motion. So that's right there to tell you that it's not referring to her earthly husband of 63 years of earthly life and
Mhm.
however many years of married life.
Mhm.
It's talking about a universal, as you said in the beginning, a principle.
Mhm.
I heard you very clearly. I'm a
Mhm.
better listener than I am a talker, believe it or not.
Oh, I know you listen.
All right. So if he is the Quran that has been activated in the world, that's how he can become Rahmatul lil Alameen.
Mm, I like that.
How are you going to become a mercy to all systems of knowledge? And the cosmos is what is containing those systems.
Mhm.
Yeah, so he's not captured in some book of however many pages and however many surahs. That's not no. The table of contents you have in your hands, buddy.
Mhm.
The book is out here.
That's well. See, and there you
Yeah.
have it, and there you have it, brother. There you
ذلك
have it.
الكتاب
Yeah.
لا ريب
Mm,
فيه هدى للمتقين.
that's
Where is that? Is it in a book? The book hadn't even been finished yet.
right.
As a matter of fact,
Ex-
that particular ayat, believe it or not, is
wow.
more a reference to Musa's kitab than it is
Mm,
to Muhammad's. Muhammad's wasn't even established yet.
yeah. Wow.
See, but Dhalik, I don't know why all these scholars for 1,000 years or better have mistakenly translated. I don't think it was a mistake, but they
Hmm.
have erroneously translated the word Dhalik as this.
This, like something
Why did they
that's.
do that? When that is the true translation, this means it's right here in front of you. You're connected to it. That means you have to go looking for it.
Hmm.
That is always at a distance.
Hmm.
And a distance is always that which you prepare for. You don't prepare for the things right there in your house. You don't prepare to meet and greet in the morning the children and the wife and husband that you wake up next to. There's no preparation necessary for that.
Hmm.
But there's definitely a preparation necessary for the relatives that are on their way to visit from California, from New York, from Texas, from Hawaii. See, yeah, when you know something is coming from a distance, that is that.
Right, right.
Then you even put on different clothes when you know people are coming from a distance to see you.
That's right.
You're not sitting around here in your raggedy shorts, and your busted up holy t-shirt. You do that around your family, the people who have that. They are this. It didn't say have that kitab.
That's
This
right.
you would have got too comfortable with it if Allah had
That's
said have that.
right.
You get uncomfortable and feel a need to spruce up a little bit.
But you know what's funny? What you just
Add to
said, just
that. Mhm.
that one I had. But see, but that's kind of like the precursor to the science of NuNetics. Because if someone asked me in a word, so what is the NuNetics? I mean, what makes it different than anything else? I would simply say that it's it's stimulating your mind to read the the creation, because the creation is, well, that's where the lessons come from, because that's something that the creator put his stamp on. um and stamp could be a seal, like you have to work to break the seal, or I mean, only if Allah blesses you to peep to, I mean, to like look beyond, because just like the word in Eid, like Eid al-Fitra, like we're returning back to our original nature. I mean, what's the whole thing of fasting? You want to discipline yourself from all the contaminants of the world, because your mind has a lot of things floating in it that's just simply taking you off to a whole different place that's not even real,
Hmm.
or or yeah, it's not real. I mean, it's masquerading as something real, but
Mhm.
it's not real. And until you have something to compare it to, you don't know. I mean, you know, but you don't know. I mean, there's something inside you that's saying, this just doesn't feel right, but I can't explain why.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know, until you like go beyond that and go, oh, it's not real. What's real is like Dalika Kitabu. That's real. But you got to stretch and we got to earn it. You got
Yeah,
to return to it. You're gonna have to get your mind right.
yeah. See,
And
as
how do you
far
get your
as
mind right?
yeah, as
Go
far as
ahead.
an individual is concerned, what is it right in front of them and around them is all around them. It's everywhere.
Hmm.
It's everywhere. And one of the elements out of the 5 elements, there are actually 5. We speak about them as 4, but there's a governing element out of which the other 4 came forth out of.
Hmm.
So we know we have the water, the fire, the air,
Hmm.
and the land as the
Hmm.
4 basic elements.
Hmm.
Allah even put this sign in your hand. We
That's
have
right.
to, we have the air, the
Hmm.
fire, the water. I
Hmm.
think I skipped a finger. I'm looking at
Hmm.
myself in the camera. The fire,
Uh-huh.
help me out here.
Okay, fire,
Yeah,
air,
air,
air, water,
water,
and land.
and land. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So what's this little piggly wiggly guy over here? That's the ether.
Wow. Okay.
The ether.
Hmm.
So when Allah says, Hada, this, I believe that because they're consonantally connected, that they have
Hmm.
a theme that connects them also.
Hmm.
Ether, take off
Hmm.
the ER, it's a suffix,
Hmm.
and Hada.
Hmm.
Hada, Ada, Ada, ether.
Ether.
You get it?
Excuse me.
Yes. So the ether is an element that is perpetuating itself everywhere, every nook and cranny of the cosmos. You're going to find ether. So no matter where you go, it's going to be right there in front of you. In other words,
Hmm.
this stuff right here
Mm.
had a, see, also connected to Kauthar,
Hmm.
ether. You good?
I'm good.
Yeah. So Hada and Kauthar. Inna aitainaka al-Kauthar. Kauthar, what is that? They say the river of abundance. This abundance is all around you. That's the ether.
Mm-hmm.
We're still waiting to die to be upside a river with all the other folks that we used to know who we think are good dudes and good dudettes. You know, we want to wake up on that side next to a river. No, that river is right here in terms of the abundance that you're able to collect while in this life and then allow that to lead you into the bigger and the broader cosmic representation of Jannah,
Hmm.
of heaven, Firdaus,
Hmm.
paradise, as they call it. Right. So, Muslims, I'm challenging you to come into a bigger and a broader conceptual framework for what you're believing to be your religion. I would even say stop calling it religion. It's not religion.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. It's
Yes,
not, it's not
yeah.
uh re as a prefix means to do something over again.
Hmm.
You think Allah needs to do the Quran over again?
Well, okay, maybe no, in that
Yeah.
regard, absolutely not. But let's say for us as human beings, like, and again, through NuNetics, how, you know, you've shown us over the years. When I look at religion, I look at, well, re reline, like you're realigning yourself to,
Realignment. Yeah.
like
But
you're
would you
off
go to
kilter.
the doctor? Would you go to the doctor for a realignment of your spine, say,
Hmm.
if nothing was wrong with your spine in the first place?
No.
So the realignment comes to people who have had some injury.
Uh-huh.
Show you how beautifully man Muhammad's logic,
Interesting.
his thinking is, because this is where I get some of this.
Hmm.
He said, when it says "Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq, khalaqa al-insana min alaq," that the insana and the alaq are speaking to the human being's growth and development, but the alaq
Hmm.
has been translated as clot of blood.
Hmm.
He said that's not correct. He said the human being is not an accident. A
Interesting.
clot of blood in the body, a blood clot. We should know that now after the whole COVID thing. A
Mm-hmm.
clot of blood in the body is an accident. That's not how Allah created your blood to flow. The clot is an interruption in the flow.
Mm-hmm.
You see,
Mm-hmm.
something that dries up and becomes an impediment in the flow of the blood.
Right.
So he said, no, just see that as an attaching substance. That's all alaq means. And we can get a
Mm-hmm.
lot out of that Ain Lam Kof connection also. But it's not a clot of blood.
Mm-hmm.
What the social schemers were attempting to do, maybe in or around Yusuf Ali's translation, if he wasn't a part of that elite group himself,
Mm-hmm.
what they were attempting to do was shape the narrative for what a human being is so that they can pass that secret knowledge down from generation to generation to say, human beings, we're not in that group
Mm-hmm.
who are stuck on stuff because of a clot.
Stuff and stuff. Wow.
See? Now,
Mm-hmm.
we are in that group who naturally yearn to attach themselves to other human concerns.
Mm-hmm.
That's what alaq is.
Mm-hmm.
See, you know what a lock is. A lock keeps you away from things.
Mm-hmm.
A lock in the blood system would keep the blood from flowing into a direction that the body needs for its very survival.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in a community or a neighborhood of criminals, you put locks on your door. You lock up your bicycle when you go into the store. You don't trust this neighborhood. You
Mm-hmm.
lock up. Some people just drop their bikes on the sidewalk, and it's all right. There's very little crime. But other people in high crime areas, they're gonna get that padlock. They'll take 10 minutes padlocking that bike just to go in and get some bubble gum. So alaq contains what I always call the A sound of negation, the
Mm-hmm.
A or the A of negation, the A privative. That means
Mm-hmm.
that it deprives the word coming after it of its meaning.
Mm-hmm.
So alaq
Mm-hmm.
is one of those words.
Mm-hmm.
It means not locked.
Mm-hmm.
It's able to flow,
Mm-hmm.
but its flow is necessary for it to make the necessary
Connection.
connections
That's right.
that's going to further its viability and its life. If you don't connect with a family, if you don't connect with your parents after you're born and you become an orphan, little orphan Annie or whoever, that's
Mm-hmm.
a problem. That's a blockage in your social circuit.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else got a mommy, at least. You ain't
Mm-hmm.
even got that. You left on somebody's doorstep.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're at the department of whatever, and they have to decide what to do with you.
Mm-hmm.
Now you end up in some criminal, for criminally whatever, as a young person, preteen. You
Mm-hmm.
going buck wild because you didn't have that sustain, that connecting person.
Mm-hmm.
The human being is a social being. The human being is a gregarious creature. We like to congregate,
Mm-hmm.
and we get our the best juice and advice and resources from connecting with people. That's what alaq means.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they say leech-like clot, because the
Mm-hmm.
leech likes to attach itself to other things for its very sustenance and survival. The baby
Right.
is a leech. If he's breastfeeding, the
Mm-hmm.
baby's a leeching off of his mother, but it's not a bad
Mm-hmm.
thing. It's a
Right.
fitral thing. People who listen to this channel for information and they take notes, Instructor Bilal said on this day about this word or whatever, they're leeching. But let me tell you something.
They're leaching so that they're leaching so they don't get any blood clots. They want
Le-
the blood to
let me,
keep flowing.
yeah, let me tell you something. There's no, this is a very important point that I'm making probably for the first time in public. There is no moral and immoral in the fitra.
Mm-hmm.
I think I may have said that during one class where I was teaching on the fitra, on nature versus nurture.
Mm-hmm.
In nature, there is nothing going on that you can consider to be immoral, not even
Mm-hmm.
when the lightning strikes the tree and causes it to become
Mm-hmm.
felled.
Mm-hmm.
Not even when something awful happens to a human, and nature did it. Living next to a seashore and the sea became rambunctious and ran over the house and all of the people in the house died. It's a sad moment for people who knew those people, but for nature, means nothing at all because nature is not moral. Nurture is moral and immoral. Nature is amoral.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I never
Yeah,
thought
you hear
about
what
it
I'm
that way.
saying? Now, this is important.
Okay.
It's important in how we judge life.
Hmm.
So things are happening all of the time. My oldest son, as you probably heard, he died from a very horrific car accident down here after he moved down here where we are.
Hmm. Mhm.
3 in the morning, his friend is driving and he seems to be joyriding while my son is taking a nap. He just picked my son up from work and my son was very tired. So he went immediate, as he normally does when he gets picked up by this guy. He went immediately to sleep. And all of a sudden, he's awakened more by the speed at which his partner is driving. This is
Mhm.
two something in the morning. And he's driving like he's trying to get away from something or someone. And lo and behold, he's trying to get away from the police lights behind him.
Mhm.
So instead of stopping, pulling off to the side, he must have had something in his trunk or something in his system that he didn't want them to catch up with. So he began going at speeds, they say up to 120 miles an hour, something like that. And
Mhm.
he turned a corner trying to get away from them and he ran into a tree. Now, is that the tree's fault? No. Is it the car's fault? These are things that are in nature, metal, rubber, you follow, glass.
Mhm.
You can't blame the car. There was a mind sitting in that seat
Hmm.
that was giving the car its marching orders. These are just angels, as Allah says. Allah ordered the angels to bow down to Adam,
Mhm.
and they all bowed down, illa Iblis, except for Iblis.
Hmm.
And Iblis is operating in the human psyche.
Mhm.
He has a choice, and he chose to not bow down to Allah's commandment. That's another story. The point here is that nature does what it does.
Mhm.
The possibilities within nature are unlimited for what can happen to you from the natural environment. You fall down off the roof, you're up there putting roofing down and you fall from a high perch and you hit your head on something and you die. You can't blame nature and you can't blame Allah because Allah gave you nature as a choice of what to do.
Mhm.
You chose to go up there. You knew there would be consequences. See, if you're driving at 125, you knew there would be consequences if you didn't make the right turn or whatever. So this is the difference between nature and nurture. Very important lesson that's being taught right now.
Hmm.
Right. So the human being is a very specific growth in the earth, male and female, adult and child, very particular, very specific, and very precious growth out of this earth with a soul that is not out of this earth.
Hmm.
The soul is cosmically connected.
Mhm.
The soul is a part of that Kauthar, that ether experience that produces the
Mhm.
tangible four elements that we are able now to visualize as a material substance.
Mhm.
But when we begin to think that our soul is just an emotional quality inside of us, we miss the whole mark. So what is this nafs? What is the ruh that Allah blew into the Khalifa? That's where the important message is. Not in this and what color it came out as. Not in this or whether I still have my, Jackson 5 Afro, or whether it's now what you're seeing on both of our heads. In the 70s and maybe the 80s, we were looking around like the silvers, you remember that, we were looking,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I look at those guys now and they got our hair. You understand? Right.
Yeah.
So that's not the real you.
Right.
That's not the nafs. That's not the
Right.
soul according to the Quran. The nafs was in action in the heavens before the physical creation was even established by Allah. And he asked the nafs a question: am I not your Rabb?
Mm.
And they all said, Bilal, Bilal, of course. And Allah said that he asked each one of us before we incarnated into these flesh and blood bodies. He asked
Mm.
us that. He said, so that in the end, heading towards that akhirah, my words,
Mhm.
there won't be a human being that can have an excuse.
Mm.
In the end, there will be no excuses
Mhm.
about why you did this, what you meant to do when you did that other thing.
Mhm.
So at the end, every individual can then be judged by their specific and particular merits without Allah upsetting the balance at all. In ancient Egypt, they had it as ma'at,
Mhm.
the justice scale. In Europe, they gave it to you as the whatever that is that they have as the blind justice, that kind of thing, right? The woman standing there with the tie,
All
with the
right.
scarf on her eyes, and she's got yeah. But in the Quran, Allah gives it to us as justice,
Mhm.
and He's the best one to mete out that justice. That's why I don't wish anybody any hellfire. I'm not in
Mhm.
charge of that. I don't know what good they've done. Only Allah can weigh that. I don't know what bad they've done and the extent.
Mhm.
So the best we can do is weigh our options for how we behave and
Right.
why we behave the way we behave. So before
Mhm.
I point that finger, and he put it in the fitra of the hand also, we were talking about the fingers and the digits. And
Mhm.
this is an old one that people use, that
Mhm.
when you point at somebody else
Mhm.
derisively,
Mhm.
you have three that are
Mhm.
pointing back to you.
Right. Right.
They're
Yeah.
pointing back to you, and you have
Mhm.
Allah as the witness to all of it.
Mhm. Wow.
So they
Okay.
say, be careful. Yeah, this is old school wisdom. Be
Mhm.
careful when you point at somebody's son,
Mhm.
because you're pointing one finger at them.
Mhm.
When you have three fingers pointing back to you, you got three
Mhm.
times the fingers, and then you have the thumb that's pointing to God as a witness over all of it.
Wow. I mean, I've heard the part about when you point one hand and then three are pointing back, but the thumb as allow witnessing.
Yeah.
I never heard that before. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And if these four fingers, as I've suggested, represent the four basic elements, and
Mm-hmm.
the thumb must represent the ether,
Right.
something that is witness to all things, because all four of these systems come out of that mother system. In the Quran, one of the terms is al-kitab.
Mm-hmm.
We have the physical kitab in front of us, but there's another kitab, that
Mm-hmm.
dhalik al-kitabu la rayba fi, that kitab, the one that has no you see,
Mm-hmm.
no fault in it, no rayba,
Mm-hmm.
nothing that you can argue with. In that
Right.
one,
Right. Right.
it's beautiful when you understand it.
No, you're right. You answered the question for me because I was going to, because I don't, for me, Benjamin, like this conversation bear witness to what I'm about to say. I, Sometimes, when because the more you study, the more you know that you don't know, and sometimes that like sometimes I'll get like maybe like a spark or an insight where you just say alhamdulillah. You feel like wow, that it just comes on you like a ton of bricks.
Enough said,
and
they say, right? Enough said.
it,
Yeah, I get
and
it.
then when that passes you, then I'll speak for myself. When that passes me, then I'm back on the grind, just realizing, like, how alive am I? Because when I get those alhamdulillah moments, I
Yeah.
realize, okay, that was a level of experience where you just know it just has a lot of substance and meaning and peace. And then when it goes away, then I feel like, okay, I'm studying, and I feel like I'm going, like I feel like kind of like, for lack of a better word, I feel like I, that a level of life opened up,
Yeah.
then the door closed, and I'm back to not really living. I don't know if that makes sense to you.
No, it makes plenty of sense to me.
So, and that's
I,
kind of, and
I
yeah,
need you. I
yeah,
need you to give me 3 minutes, and I'll be right back.
yeah, yeah, sure,
Okay.
sure, sure.
Remind me to reset.
Okay, so I think what I was saying, Benjamin, it's when I get those, alhamdulillah moments, you feel like, wow, you just it's just a level of like life that you can't really articulate, but you feel like, wow, you feel alive. And then when it passes, back on the grind, and then and on the grind is when I feel like I'm you know, if you feel like that level of life, you're not there, and you just, what I'm trying to say, I feel like you're when you have something you compare something to, you realize maybe how much alive that you really aren't. I mean, you know, you're going through the motions,
I get it.
but you still feel like, wow, I'm still, yeah. So anyways, but that was just something I just wanted to share with you. I never really shared it before. I just, you know, but trust me, I'm going to stay on the path, because you
I
know
get it. I get
you
it.
know you
The
do.
entirety of the
Hmm.
human life
Hmm.
is a comparative analysis.
Hmm.
All of the human life, every aspect of our lives
Hmm.
is spent in an analysis of things that we are comparing other things to,
Hmm.
because that's the essential uh, nature of the human intellect. It
Hmm.
divides things into categories that it then
Hmm.
compares.
Hmm.
And Allah designed the human intellect to choose from that which is of better quality, not necessarily quantity, but of better quality. That's how infants perform. You have canned milk called Similac or Soyalac. The baby's used to titty milk. So if you get given a choice, you put that Similac bottle in that baby's mouth, it'll spit it out in your face if it needs to, until mama gets there, or the wet nose or nurse or whatever. You know, somebody's got to get there with what it's used to, because it's comparing things analytically. You see what I'm saying? So that's the human mind doing that. And there's no shame in the game of people who see the mundane world of working every day and working day and night and all of that as being more uncomfortable for them than what they're considering to be their purpose. It's just that many people have been trained out of having any purpose, and therefore they're just satisfied. They're satisfied with whatever it is they're doing.
Hmm.
So the intellect, that word means internal election, as you know, right? The choosing inside of things. But we're supposed to be choosing those things that are of greater benefit to us. That's where the disconnection has come. The social conspirators have trained us to just select from those things that represent comfort, that represent entertainment, amusement. We've been trained out of. I don't think I'm hearing you. You're muted on your end. Yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
unmuted.
sir. Thank
Okay.
you. Yeah. So we've been trained out of the quality life in deference to the quantity life.
Hmm.
Quantity belongs on the side of nature.
Right.
Quality belongs on the side of nurture.
Interesting.
So we'll be able to pick up. I'm going to leave you with the last word.
Okay. No, I again, I really appreciate the time that you spent with me, because hopefully I'll be able to access this recording.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, because I definitely I'm going to really listen to this, because there's a lot to it.
It was
It's also,
inspiring.
it's been really helpful for me collecting my thoughts for this book. So I appreciate you,
Well,
brother. And
whenever you're, at that point where you're ready to go ahead and publish and all of that, I'll, allow you to access every resource that I have, the audiences that I speak to,
okay.
because I know it's going to be what it's supposed to be.
Be
It's
okay.
coming from you, my friend.
Okay. No, I
Thank you for
appreciate
spending
that.
this time with me.
No, here too. And I'll get my donation to you before the night is out, okay?
Inshallah.
Inshallah. But
You've
again,
you
brother,
you you've never been negligent in that area. You've always been first, a matter of fact. So don't worry about it. Just do what you can
okay,
do when you can do
okay,
it. All
okay.
right.
All right. So again, I appreciate you. And
Indeed.
so again, before too long, I look forward to us connecting again.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll leave it to you to make that happen. All you gotta do is call a brother,
I know,
and
man.
and
And
we'll
you, yeah,
we'll
you,
schedule we'll
yeah,
schedule it.
we'll do that. So,
Yeah, and I'm sure our audience will be looking forward to another rendezvous.
okay.
All
And
right.
all the best to you and your family.
Same on your side, my friend.
Okay.
To your wife
All
and
right.
children, and to life. The best
Yeah.
to you when it comes to life.
Yes.
All right.
Same. Okay,
Salam
brother.
alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.